Think about this for a second. When was the last time you called your closest friend just because you missed them, not because you needed anything from them? Most people, when they hear that question, instinctively think, of course I have someone like that. But wait a second. Be honest with yourself. Most of the people you call are actually serving a function. One listens to you. One fills your time. One gives you status. One keeps you from feeling alone. Now ask yourself, what happens when that function disappears? You move away. You lose your job. You're no longer fun to be around. Arthur Schopenhauer, the most brutally honest realist of the 19th century, already answered this question. And it was an answer most people aren't ready to hear. To him, what we call a human being is, at its core, a vessel for a selfish will. And that will, even when it reaches out to someone else, is always chasing its own interest. So maybe what we call friendship never really existed. Maybe it was always just a fragile arrangement, one that lasts exactly as long as it benefits both sides. And if that's true, which of the people in your life are genuinely there for you, and which ones are only there because they currently need something from you? Picture a group of friends. They've sat at the same table for years, made the same jokes, called each other family. Then one of them changes jobs, moves to a new city, or simply shifts their priorities. And you realize the table was never really built around that person, it was built around a shared habit. To Schopenhauer, this isn't surprising, because it's already baked into human nature. The force that drives every human being is what he called the will, a blind, purposeless, insatiable hunger to keep living. And this will operates separately in every single one of us. Your will has nothing to do with mine. And by its very nature, it serves only itself. That's why when one person approaches another, what's usually there isn't pure love, it's need. An escape from loneliness, an escape from boredom, a desire to feel like you belong somewhere. Now let's go one layer deeper. For Schopenhauer, life is a pendulum that never stops swinging between two extremes, pain and boredom. When we don't have something, when we can't reach it, we suffer. That suffering is what drives us, what sends us chasing after the next thing. But once we finally get it, something strange happens. The pain fades, sure, but what replaces it isn't happiness. What replaces it is emptiness, right after a brief moment of relief. That emptiness has a name, boredom. And according to Schopenhauer, a human being never actually rests between these two poles. You're either suffering from the absence of something or bored by the ordinariness of having it. Friendships aren't exempt from this pendulum. When someone's gone, we miss them, we want to be near them again, and that's its own kind of pain. When we finally reunite, that pain fades, yes. But what fills the space it leaves behind is rarely love. Most of the time, it's just the temporary closing of an inner void. Then, if we stay close for long enough, the pendulum swings the other way. The same conversations, the same habits, the same predictable reactions start to quietly wear on us. We might still tell ourselves we love that person, but what we actually miss, more often than not, isn't them. It's the emptiness they used to fill. Once you notice this, you understand why some relationships fall apart so easily. Because what was really there wasn't two people, it was two needs. And when the needs changed, the bond dissolved along with them. Now bring this into the workplace. You click with a co-worker. You're on the same project, backing each other up, venting over lunch. Then one of you gets promoted or moves to a different department. And that closeness evaporates almost overnight. It stings because you had called it friendship. But Schopenhauer would ask you a much colder question. Could that closeness have survived without a shared interest keeping it alive? Most of the time, the answer is no. And that no doesn't make someone a bad person, it just shows them for what they actually are. This is where the real force of Schopenhauer's philosophy shows up. He isn't accusing anyone, he's simply pulling back the curtain. And behind it, he shows us this. Every human being sees themselves at the center of their own universe. You're the hero of your story, I'm the hero of mine. And when two heroes meet, what happens isn't a real merging. It's a temporary overlap of two separate interests. That's why people usually love most of all the ones who reflect them back to themselves, the ones who understand them, validate them, make them feel powerful. which means what you love is rarely the person themselves. It's the feeling that person creates in you. Once you understand that, you also understand why some breakups hurt as much as they do. What you lost wasn't just a person. What you lost was the sense of comfort that person created inside you. So why is this truth so hard for people to accept? Because accepting it means accepting that we're alone. And the human mind fears loneliness more than it fears hunger. That's why most people, instead of questioning the true nature of the bonds around them, build a story that those bonds are special. That story protects them, but it also blinds them. For Schopenhauer, wisdom begins exactly where that blindness ends. Seeing the truth, even when it hurts, is worth more than living comfortably inside an illusion. And this is where his famous hedgehog analogy comes in. Picture a group of hedgehogs on a freezing winter night. They huddle together for warmth, but when they get too close, their spines wound each other, so they pull back. Then the cold sets in again, and they move closer once more. Eventually, they find a distance where they're neither close enough to hurt each other, nor far enough to freeze. That's exactly what human relationships are, a constant dance of moving closer and pulling away. We can't be fully alone because it hurts, and we can't be fully close because we end up wounding each other. That's why most friendships settle into a kind of balanced distance. Not too close, not too far. Right at that narrow point where the need gets met, but the ego never feels threatened. And once you see this, you can never look at people the same way again. But that doesn't make you cold, it makes you clear. Because now you can tell the difference between someone who genuinely values you and someone who's just taking what they can get from you right now, and that difference is what stops you from being defenseless. Maybe the most freeing thing you can do is stop feeling let down by people, because they didn't abandon you. They simply followed their own will, the same way you always follow yours. Reading Schopenhauer doesn't make you trust people less, it makes you trust them more accurately. You start to see who actually stays once the need is gone, and those few people turn out to be worth far more than you ever realized. The hedgehog analogy from his work Parerga and Paralipomena captures this exactly. A human being can neither live in complete isolation nor grow close to another without some cost. Every bond we form is a fragile balance struck between those two extremes. Maybe real maturity is accepting that balance, existing with people at an honest distance without expecting a perfect union from any of them. And the moment you understand that, no one can abandon you anymore, because you were never expecting to belong to anyone completely in the first place.